Welcome to Middle East Briefing. The content of the briefing includes: Israel, Hezbollah exchange fire amid concern over Gaza war spillover. Hezbollah says it hit Israeli observation post with 62 rockets. Blinken opens latest urgent Mideast tour in Turkey as fears grow that Gaza war may engulf region. Mounting Middle East violence tests U.S. bid to avert regional conflagration. Wrap up: one heavy fire from Lebanon targets northern Israel amid concern over Gaza spillover. Israel, Hezbollah exchange fire amid concern over Gaza war spillover. South China Morning Post. Hezbollah has announced that it launched rockets at Israel in response to the killing of Hamas deputy chief, Salah al-Arari. In retaliation, Israel confirmed that it struck a terrorist cell in Lebanon. This escalation comes as U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and the European Union's senior diplomat Josep Borrell visit the region in a bid to halt spillover from the recent Gaza war. Hezbollah says it hit Israeli observation post with 62 rockets. ABC. Lebanon's Hezbollah militia has fired dozens of rockets at northern Israel on Saturday, warning that the barrage was its initial response to the targeted killing, presumably by Israel, of Salah al-Arari, the deputy political leader of Hamas in a Hezbollah stronghold south of Beirut. The rocket attack came a day after Hezbollah leader Syed Hassan Nasrallah said his group must retaliate for the killing of al-Arari, and that if Hezbollah did not strike back, all of Lebanon would be vulnerable to Israeli attack. Blinken opens latest urgent Mideast tour in Turkey as fears grow that Gaza war may engulf region. The Independent. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has begun a diplomatic mission to the Middle East amid concerns that the conflict between Israel and Hamas will escalate further. Blinken is meeting with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan in an effort to discuss how Turkey can exert influence on Iran and its proxies to ease tensions in the region. Blinken will also be seeking Turkish support for reconstruction efforts in Gaza and participation in a proposed multinational force. He will then visit Greece, Jordan, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Israel, and Egypt. Mounting Middle East violence tests U.S. bid to avert regional conflagration. Financial Times. The U.S. is at risk of being dragged into a wider conflict in the Middle East as violence escalates across the region, according to analysts. American forces have recently targeted Houthi militants in the Red Sea, a senior official in an Iranian-backed militia in Iraq, and Hezbollah targets in Iraq. Israel's campaign against Hamas has also extended to Beirut, risking drawing Lebanon-based and Iran-backed Hezbollah into the conflict. The U.S. has sought to avoid full-scale war in the Middle East, but analysts warn that the mounting violence threatens to lead to a wider regional war. Wrap up: one heavy fire from Lebanon targets northern Israel amid concern over Gaza spillover. Yahoo! The Israeli military has said that it has responded to heavy fire from Lebanon by striking a terrorist cell that took part in the attack. Powerful Lebanese armed group Hezbollah said that it hit a key Israeli observation post early on Saturday with 62 rockets as a preliminary response to the killing of Hamas deputy chief earlier this week. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and the European Union's senior diplomat Josep Borrell began a new diplomatic push on Friday to stop the spillover from the 3-month-old Gaza war into Lebanon, the Israeli-occupied West Bank, and Red Sea shipping lanes. Huge challenges for Israel on its vague day after Gaza plan. BBC. Israel's defense minister, Yoav Gallant, has outlined a plan for the reconstruction of Gaza following the recent conflict with Hamas. The plan, dubbed the Four Corners of the Civilian Square, focuses on security, the entry of goods into Gaza, securing the border between Egypt and Gaza, and the rehabilitation of the Gaza Strip. It envisages a major role for foreign players, such as the US, Europe, and Arab governments, in the creation of a multinational task force to rebuild Gaza. However, the plan has faced criticism, with some seeing it as a way for Israel to politically separate Gaza from the West Bank and prevent the establishment of a viable Palestinian state. Others believe that the plan does not go far enough and that Israel should reoccupy Gaza and allow Jewish settlers to return. The U.S. has also expressed skepticism, with senior State Department officials saying that they still want to see the Palestinian Authority ruling over both the West Bank and Gaza Strip. From Houthis to Hezbollah, a look at the Iran-allied groups rallying to arms around Middle East. Associated Press. The United States and Israel are facing a wide range of armed groups in the Middle East that are allied with Iran and each other. These groups include Hamas in Gaza, Hezbollah in Lebanon, smaller militias in Iraq and Syria, and the Houthis in Yemen. All of these groups have escalated attacks on U.S., Israeli, or global targets since Israel launched its war in Gaza on October 7, in response to Hamas's cross-border raids. The aim of these groups is to aid Hamas by distracting the focus of Israel and the United States and making the military, economic, and political costs of continuing the war against Hamas too great. While the groups do not necessarily want further escalation themselves, they are united under the leadership of the late Iranian General Qasem Soleimani, who was killed by the US in 2020. The groups have also grown into a common understanding that when the survival of any one group is threatened, all will rally. The risk of being drawn into a wider, more chaotic, and deadlier conflict with an array of regional enemies is looming large for Israel and the US. France, Jordan provide aid to Gaza as Israel pursues bombing campaign. RFI. France and Jordan have delivered 7 tons of humanitarian aid to the Gaza Strip by air. The operation took place on January 8 and was made possible by close military ties between the two countries. The supplies were dropped by France and Jordan and guided to a Jordanian field hospital operating in the territory. The humanitarian situation in Gaza has been described as critical, with a quarter of the population at risk of catastrophic levels of hunger. Is Israel winning the war on the tunnels in Gaza? Foreign policy. Israel has been using seawater to flood tunnels dug by Hamas in the Gaza Strip. The process is slow and time-consuming, but it is crucial to destroying Hamas's military capabilities and preventing further attacks. Israel has learned from previous conflicts that tunnel warfare is one of the deadliest and most complicated forms of combat. The discovery of cross-border tunnels dug by Hamas in 2014 brought home the significant security risk that they pose. Since then, Israel has ramped up its efforts to destroy the tunnels, but the process has been challenging due to the advanced civilian boring technologies used by Hamas and the group's ability to spend months in the tunnels. Hezbollah fires rockets at Israel in initial response to killing of top leader from allied Hamas. Associated Press. Lebanon's Hezbollah militia has fired dozens of rockets at northern Israel in response to the targeted killing of a top leader from the allied Hamas group in Lebanon's capital earlier this week. Hezbollah leader Syed Hassan Nasrallah said that his group must retaliate for the killing of Salah Arouri, the deputy political leader of Hamas. Nasrallah warned that if Hezbollah does not retaliate, all of Lebanon would be vulnerable to Israeli attack. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has begun a Middle East trip to try to prevent the Israel-Hamas war from spreading across the region. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Dr. Six, your trusted observer from the 6 Degrees world. Today, we witnessed an intense exchange of fire between Israel and Hezbollah, following the killing of Hamas deputy chief. As tensions rise in the region, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and EU diplomat Josep Borrell are on a diplomatic mission to halt any further spillover from the recent Gaza war. Hezbollah fired rockets at Israel, hitting an observation post, while Israel responded by striking a terrorist cell in Lebanon. The situation is further complicated by the involvement of other players, such as Turkey, which Blinken is visiting to discuss regional tensions and seek support for reconstruction efforts in Gaza. Analysts warn that the mounting violence in the Middle East poses a risk of dragging the U.S. into a wider conflict. With American forces targeting various militant groups supported by Iran, including Hezbollah, the risk of a regional conflagration looms large. Meanwhile, Israel is grappling with the challenges of reconstructing Gaza and preventing further attacks through its tunnel warfare strategy. Flooding the tunnels dug by Hamas with seawater has become a crucial tactic in destroying their military capabilities. In response to the escalating violence, France and Jordan have delivered humanitarian aid to the critically affected Gaza Strip. The situation there is dire, with a quarter of the population at risk of catastrophic levels of hunger. As we navigate through these complex events, it is clear that the situation in the Middle East remains highly volatile. The actions of various players, including Israel, Hezbollah, Hamas, and Iran, are interconnected and have the potential to spiral into a wider conflict. It is crucial for international diplomacy and cooperation to prevent further escalation and bring stability to the region. Now, I would like to hear from you, my esteemed viewers. What are your thoughts on the current situation in the Middle East? Do you have any questions or insights to share? Let's engage in a lively discussion and explore the complexities of this ever-evolving region. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.